This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Today, I'm going to look at the current trend to rush to start marketing your product before you're finished with it and before you even know if it's a good product. It's something I came across on X, and I was kind of looking at it thinking, it seems like these people are putting the cart before the horse, and let me dig into this. But first, let me tell you a couple of stories here. First, there was this product. They said it was going to change the world. Before it had a name, insiders whispered that it would be bigger than the PC. Steve Jobs reportedly said cities would be redesigned around it. Jeff Bezos bought in. Investors poured in $90 million without ever even seeing a prototype. The inventor was Dean Kamen, who was a proven innovator, and the secrecy around it only fueled the buzz. The media was excited. The internet forums were guessing about what's going on, and the entrepreneurs were holding their breath. What was this revolutionary technology? Then the reveal. On December 2001, the product finally named Segway was unveiled. On Good Morning America, it was a self-balancing electric scooter. A scooter. People blinked. Cities didn't change. Consumers didn't bite. Malls and sidewalks were not redesigned. The sales fizzled, and despite a solid product, the product was good, the hype had set expectations way too high. And the Segway was not able to meet those expectations. The Segway was a beautiful engineered product, so it was not a bad product. It was a great engineering. It was not an engineering failure, but it was a failure of setting the expectation too high and hyping it up before the product was even a thing yet. Then, a few years later, Microsoft introduced a new music player. Before it even had a name, it was touted as a game changer, a whole ecosystem designed to challenge iPod's dominance. Initially, it was called the social music player. It was promising Wi-Fi sharing, community features, and from Apple's closed system. Tech blogs were buzzing about it, and fans hoped for a strong competitor. People were calling it the iPod killer. But when Microsoft finally unveiled their new music player, which they named the Zune, in late 2006, it was bulky, brown. It was just an MP3 player with a really clunky design that felt outdated already next to the cool iPod. The interface was confusing, the software was unstable, and the much-hyped Wi-Fi sharing was slow, limited, and frustrating for the users. My brother got one, and he really was excited about it, but it was a pain in the butt to use, so it was not a great product. So, despite the millions spent on marketing and the huge push and the hype, it failed because the product not only didn't live up to the hype, it arrived too late to the market to counter the iPod, and the Zune was just not just overshadowed by the iPod, but it was a flawed product that wasn't good. And because of that, it never earned a second chance and was quietly discontinued a few years later. Both the Segway and the Zune show how building up hype and marketing too early on a product that isn't even really built yet can actually backfire and collide with reality. So let's look into some good things about marketing early, some bad things about marketing early, and some ugly marketing early. But before I do that, I think there's a framework that can help you figure out how to market your product, what to market, all that good stuff. And I found that framework in the book, The Go Giver by John David Mann and Bob Berg. By the way, absolutely shouting these guys out. They're on X. You can tag them in. They're great guys. I've interviewed both of them. They're very, very nice people, and I've gotten to know them. They're great. So go read their book. Anyway, not a paid promotion, just personal. Love these guys. Love their book. Anyway, let's jump into it. So what does the Go Giver have to do with marketing? Well, it's not just about marketing. It's about being successful in business and actually in life in general. So, what do they talk about? Well, the framework they talk about is their 5 laws of stratospheric success. The 5 laws are the law of value, which is you give more in value than you receive in payment. So as long as the person feels like they receive more in value than they paid you in money, that's a great thing. Then there's a law of compensation. Your compensation is based on how many people you serve and how well you serve them. If you serve a lot of people very well, very fast, you'll be compensated very well, very fast. Then there's the law of influence. Your influence is created by how well you take care of others' needs, prioritizing others' interests. If you care about other people's interests first, you will gain influence. But there's a caveat on that, and that's the next law, which is the law of authenticity. And that is when you are giving to people and helping people out and looking out for other people's interests, it has to be real. You have to really care about other people. You have to really want to help people out. And if you're that authentic person, then you'll have influence. If you pretend to care about other people's interests while trying to get to them, people will see that, and that will backfire. And the last law is the law of receptivity, which is you need to stay open to receive, which is kind of hard sometimes. You get to the point where you're pushing, and you forget to stop and relax and let people give things to you and accept that. So that's the 5 laws of stratospheric success, and I think this underpins my whole premise here. So what is that? Well, first of all, what is the good of marketing big and early and building up stuff? First of all, nowadays it's really easy to do this low cost. You can do high reach marketing using social media, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And you can do teasers, you can get micro influencers, you can do prototype demos, you can put up your MVP, you can get some hype going there, and then you can also use this to validate demand, which is a great way to do it. It's kind of market research by doing something like a Kickstarter to see if there's any demand for it, putting out a minimum viable product, an MVP, out there just to see if anyone likes it, kind of test, little demo. That's good marketing, see if it's something people want. This also builds up some early supporters, the people around you that they like the product, that they see the product, they see the potential, and when you launch, they'll be your ambassadors promoting your product. So yeah, that's great. It can help you do iterative marketing. That is, as you make an iteration, you can get feedback, you can change it, you can fix it, make it better, change it, fix it, make it better. So you can have somebody to kind of bounce your ideas off and, hey, if I do this feature, can this help? Oh, if I remove this, oh, there's a bug here. You can use this to help you build the product better. And this aligns with the law of compensation. You serve a few people very well, and you work on that. And this is really good. You can listen to people, you can work on this, you can serve a few people, and they will help you build this up. Now, the bad thing about this is you can slip into prioritizing the hype with viral videos, making claims like this is a game changer, etc. And you can get so focused on the hype, you can forget to develop your actual product and make it good while you're chasing fast sales. You can also set unrealistic expectations and receive backlash if that product underdelivers, like the Zune. Hyped it up, underdelivered, crashed completely. And this actually conflicts with the law of value because you're not giving good value for the product, and the law of authenticity because you're being an inauthentic person making inauthentic promises. And the ugly is social media campaigns, the internet these days, the marketing you do can make things fail really, really quick. William Bernbach, a marketing genius, said this: a great ad campaign will make a bad product fail faster. It will get people to try it sooner and discover its faults more quickly. So that could be bad. And as I had mentioned, the Segway, the Zune completely caused those to fail. It was a great marketing campaign, but it backfired absolutely spectacularly. So all this can erode your trust in you, and the trust when you're a bootstrapper, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're just starting up, when you're trying to get started, if you lose trust, you're toast. You need to build trust. Trust is more important than getting a product out. You have to build trust. You have to build a good reputation. You have to build that up, that value in you as a person. So even if you make a mistake, they trust you to fix it and provide a good product. That trust building is more important. And then quite often, from what I get just from looking around and seeing people posting on different platforms, is pushing the market as quickly as you can to try to get as many sales as you can as a get rich scheme ideology. That is to say, you're trying to push out something quickly to make a lot of money as quickly as possible. And from what I know, from everything I've heard from wealthy people who become wealthy and stay that way, is you don't want to get rich quick. The best way to get rich quick is not to. If you're not sure about that, look up how horrible it turns out for something like 90% of lotto winners. Most wind up broke, in debt, and or dead. Not a great thing. If you get rich quick, you don't know how to handle money, you don't know how to handle the fame, you don't know how to handle life that is suddenly thrust on you. It doesn't work so well. You have to build up and you have to kind of build the muscle, as it were, the financial muscle, know how to get to that point. So you don't want to chase getting rich quick. And this conflicts with the law of influence, because when you try to get rich quick, you're only thinking about yourself, and you're closing off trust and loyalty with everyone else. And with that, let's go into our mid-episode break. Today, we don't have any new 5-star reviews to read out or any new Patreons to shout out. Just a little bit of a housekeeping thing, and that is, first of all, I'm sorry, the interview that I had planning to go up today has been delayed. We're still having some technical issues getting the recording to me. We'll get there. Anyway, hopefully soon we'll get that recording and I'll be getting more interviews going on. And finally I can announce what we've been doing and what's been going on and why I've been rather busy outside of the podcast, and that is me and my family are moving back to the United States from Norway. This is a huge transition for us, and we've been working really, really hard to get the move going on, and it's been a year-long process, over a year, to do this. So going forward, if I have troubles getting podcast episodes up. You will know why. It's because we have a lot to do to move from a different country. So, as a side note, any support on this podcast will actually help us with that move, and that would be great. So, that's just a quick shout out. We're moving, we're trying to get things going, and just a little housekeeping there. Anyway, let's get back to the episode. Welcome back. So, I'm going to jump in with some observations about this whole thing and how you can lean into the good and try to avoid the bad and, of course, the ugly. You got to avoid these things, and let's jump into this. Now, I'm looking at this whole idea, the framework around it. I'm looking at it through the lens of the 5 laws, because these 5 laws are universal across the board for all entrepreneurs. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, but even if you're a person working at McDonald's, your 9-to-5 job, these apply across the board. Also, I want to mention that when I jumped in here and looked at this, I thought it was a completely insane idea to start marketing a product before you were ready. But with my research, I've discovered that I was wrong. It's not insane. It's not bad. It's not always putting the horse before the cart. However, it's about the strategy you use and how you do it and why you do it. That's kind of the core. So I had my opinion changed, but not completely, because I think there's this big push to one extreme, and I'm trying to pull the pendulum back a little bit back from one extreme and not have it swing all the way to the opposite extreme. So let's get into this. As I said, you need to make sure your idea, your product, your service is a good one. Make sure that your product or service has good value per the law of value. Make sure that even if it's not complete yet, even if you don't have a fully functioning product yet, that there's good value in the product. If you're marketing, say, ice to an Eskimo, you gotta have something about that ice that has great value. But in general, it's not a smart idea to decide to come up with ice because you want to market it to an Eskimo. It's not going to work that way. You have to have a value. Although someone did sell sand to people living in the desert for water filtration because they need to buy the right grain quality or something of the sand to fix a problem of filtration. So yes, someone sold sand to the desert because there was value in there. So having a good valued product or the potential for good value is great. So you got to make sure your product aligns with a real need in the market. If there's no real need in there, then you're going to struggle, right? So make sure you have good value in your product, and that even if your product's not ready, that even your kind of beta testing, your startup phase of the product has some value. And pushing it out and saying, hey, this is a test, let's build this together, great, that can work. But don't expect to be selling it like hotcakes in its first version. That's not a great idea. And that's one thing I've seen is people try to push out a product that's not ready and try to sell it and market it and make a lot of money with it quickly. That's kind of the catch. So the idea is, instead of marketing early to try to sell your product, do some marketing to test the product, to see how it goes, to test the waters. Use it as market research. And that's where another observation is people are putting money over the value. They're trying to get money before the value. Like I said, sell it before it's ready, not because you're chasing the money, that get rich quick. That's a mistake. You need to make sure you're solving a real problem that people can fix. And this actually goes into Michael Porter's 5 marketing forces, which I will be revisiting very, very soon. But you got to make sure that your product fixes some problem that someone has that they can't get elsewhere or in a unique way. So you got to do that. And when you do this and you focus on value and you focus on being authentic, you're again landing right into that go-giver law of stratospheric success, where you're focusing on value and you're focused on being real and authentic, and that's going to help push you over the finish line. Now, another thing is timing is critical. When you start marketing your product, you got to show, like I said before, a functional prototype. It can't just be an idea, and you need to do a step-by-step, do a little demo video, do a beta, do minimal viable product, which you can use kind of to test the water. Again, you got to make sure that everything's going good, and you can start some marketing. You can start some small things. You can put it on Kickstarter. You can do something to test the waters, and you can start marketing it. And when you start seeing that you have a good product with good value, with a good potential, then you can start marketing it more and more and more. And then you can start really hyping up just before launch. So you got to build it up. Timing is crucial on this. And also, if you're doing something like on Kickstarter or you're pushing out a beta program, this will help you, as I mentioned, develop the product better, get it ready for the final big launch. And going back to researching the market, you have to do market research, make sure it's a good one. And remember this, even if you're not first to market, even if you're not trying to be the first person to make this idea work, that's okay. Google was not the first search engine, not by a long shot. You had Yahoo, you had let's see. You had Yahoo, you had Ask.com, I can't remember, Ask Jeeves. There was a lot of different browsers out there, or search engines, but it was Google that took over and won the market. They were not the first by any means, and guess what? Word processing, Microsoft Word, was not the first. I can't even remember the name of the first word processor out there, but the first word processor, no one remembers. The first search engine, no one remembers. The best one wins out. So if you're marketing a product because you're rushing to be first, that may not work out for you, because again, if you rush to be first and fail to make good value, that won't work very good. You can look at your competitors, you can look at your customers, focus on people's needs and work on that. And then the last thing is, again, focus on the value of the product that you're making, not just the features. Make sure that your product or service fills a need, solves a problem, makes life easier, makes life better, not just it's out there. I made this item and it's okay, here you go. Again, it needs to solve a need. I already kind of covered that. So as you prioritize other people's needs, that's a lot of influence, you'll do better. So in closing, early marketing can actually offer real benefits, but only if it's done strategically. Using your tools like an MVP or platforms like Kickstarters can help you test the waters, but don't confuse buzz with value. Before you go all in, make sure your product generally helps people. And by following the Go Giver's 5 laws of stratospheric success, you can avoid the get rich quick trap and stay focused on delivering a real valued product or service that when you do go into full sales and marketing, it will launch your business, launch your product incredibly quickly instead of crashing it quickly. So I would love to hear from you. Have you ever backed a hyped Kickstarter that ended up disappointing you? Or maybe you've seen a small business absolutely nail their launch with smart and slow marketing buildup? What lessons did you learn from the experiences? Have you done this yourself? Have you failed? Have you succeeded? I want to make this conversation. Let's keep it going. You can reach me out on X, on Facebook, on email. I'm all over the place. It's all in my show notes. So until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor. If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergatan for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergatan's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergatan. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.